Last night it was loud in Russia's Ryazan. About a dozen explosions were heard in the area. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has confirmed the strike on the Ryazan oil refinery. A hit and a fire were recorded in the area of the secondary oil processing units, according to the report. The extent of the damage is being clarified. The Ryazan oil refinery, with a design capacity of 17 million tons of oil per year, is one of the largest oil refineries in Russia. In addition to gasoline, it produces diesel, liquefied gas, and other oil products, but most importantly, jet fuel. The plant produces an average of 840,000 tons of aviation fuel per year and is involved in supplying the occupier's army. It is this plant that produces fuel for the aircraft attacking Ukrainian cities. Since the beginning of the year, this is at least the 8th attack on the Ryazan oil refinery. They took control of the so-called Boyko Towers in the Black Sea and carried out a series of successful operations. Fighters from the Active Actions Unit of the main Intelligence Directorate, Ferata, spoke with our correspondent Mikhailo Manilyuk, sharing details about their work and, in particular, the use of unmanned naval boats, specifically the Ukrainian Katran Venom drones. QR's naval drones attack Russian ports and destroy infrastructure. They paralyzed the operations of oil terminals in Tuapse and Novorossiysk.
And so, well, let us see what unfolds next, shall we?
With these kamikaze sea drones, special forces strike the elite Ryazan unit, which was based on the Sevash drilling platform. Reconnaissance equipment and an anti-tank missile crew were destroyed. Ukrainian unmanned boats have already proven their effectiveness. They sink vessels that cost dozens of times more than themselves, forced the Black Sea Fleet to move away from Ukraine's shores, and without exaggeration, have become a serious threat to Russia's naval forces. In these shots, you can see Ukraine's most advanced naval drone, the Katran Venom. Thanks to this unmanned maritime system, the Ferata Special Operations Unit has already carried out several successful missions in the Black Sea. We managed to get in touch with the fighters.
This maritime strategic operations system allows units to strike targets at distances of over 2,000 kilometers using various types of weaponry.
The latest version of the Katran can reach speeds of up to 130 kilometers per hour, launch 4 torpedoes, and is equipped with a drone featuring an M134 mini-cannon for engaging maritime targets, as well as a remotely controlled turret with a Browning M1 machine gun for air defense. Therefore, this unmanned boat is capable of destroying the enemy on water, on land, and in the air. This is
not just a kamikaze. This vessel carries missiles, has undergone the first tests of torpedo strikes, aircraft-type drones, FPVs, and various sets of weapons that the Katran uses.
Special forces say that, in particular, the Katran was involved in the liberation from the occupiers of the so-called Boyko Towers, drilling gas and oil extraction platforms near the coast of Crimea in the Black Sea, which had been under occupation since 2014 and which Russia had used for military purposes since the start of the full-scale invasion. A special operations unit, as part of the FRA detachment and Ukrainian military intelligence, was tasked, so to speak, with blinding the Russians, disabling a powerful radar system, which would open up the Russian coastline to attack from the sea.
Drones under the control of the Special Unit Active Directorate successfully carried out specialized missions specifically related to the destruction of enemy radar stations, striking enemy personnel on the towers themselves. This was done to pave the way for further actions by other units moving along the route toward the Crimean coast and the Black Sea coast of Russia.
Through joint efforts, the defense forces of Ukraine have regained control over the so-called Boyko Towers. However, this is not the only successful operation made possible by maritime drones, the soldiers say. The surface vessels of the main Intelligence Directorate are already destroying infrastructure in Novorossiysk. And this means that there is not a single safe place for the occupiers in the Black Sea.
This is strategic containment of the Black Sea Fleet, as well as delivering strikes against the enemy's portside oil infrastructure. This allows Ukraine to temporarily halt part of the oil refining processes, delivery, and everything related to the sources from which they replenish their budgets.
Special forces admit that the tension at sea is constantly rising as the Russians are searching for ways to destroy Ukrainian naval drones.
It's like a boxing match. They are looking for any solutions, ways to neutralize our assets. We change the course of the game, hold our ground, and come up with countermeasures to their actions. Boxing.
And in this no-rules boxing match, the advantage still lies with Ukraine's fighters, the guys say. After all, they know how to operate in any conditions, whether it's on water or on land.
In addition to using Katran drones, we are also developing this direction further. We are training for large-scale naval operations, as well as airborne and amphibious NRC operations, and with the help of naval assets as well, among other things. Oh, see the light, the light, the light. Yes, by the way, the picture is even better now. Purely in the hero style. That's
Exactly about our unit. We
will find a way out in any situation, so this was a very vivid example just now. We work in any conditions, in any situations.
The active operations unit of the HUR Ferata is actively involved in destroying the enemy. The fighters often operate right in the enemy's lair to prevent him from carrying out his plans.
I work directly on enemy territory, on the territory of the Russian Federation, on temporarily occupied territory, behind enemy lines, deep behind enemy lines. In other words, we are like a scalpel that cuts through the enemy's defenses where needed and cuts off their offensive actions where necessary. Wherever it's necessary to find and eliminate remnants, we take them out, or if the enemy is planning any active operations. Our unit tries and very often succeeds to disrupt the enemy's actions.
The Special Forces promise to find and destroy everyone involved in causing suffering to Ukrainians. The enemies are given special Black Sea marks. Here it is.
This is what it looks like. These are scoundrels who have brought trouble to the Ukrainian people. They received the Black Sea mark from the GR.
Mikhailo Maniliuk, Valentin Bilek, details on the Intermarathon TV channel. Idei News.
In Ternopil, even several days after the Russian terrorist attack, bodies of the victims are still being found. And of course, the day of dignity and freedom. It is today that Ukraine remembers its revolutions and honors its heroes. In the marathon, the only news this evening, Channel 1 Plus, all the most important updates on the 1,367th day of the full-scale war. Now, in the TSN broadcast, the phantoms of the main Intelligence Directorate are going on the hunt. Today, representatives of the GUR showed an exclusive video of the destruction of a Russian K-27 helicopter and expensive air defense systems. Our fighters delivered accurate strikes on the territory of temporarily occupied Crimea, and they showed footage of a stunning evasion of a missile from the Stary complex. Panzer S-1. Ukrainian defenders continue to identify the invaders' equipment even on the hottest front lines. This is how our military took on the gun battle and eliminated the enemy DRG in the Lyman direction. Overall, according to the General Staff, over the past day, the Russians and their mercenaries tried to attack about 10 times in an attempt to advance near Nova Horivka, Shendryholov, Mern and Kolodiadze, and Novoselivka. Intense fighting is also taking place in the Sloviansk, Kostiantinivka, Huliaipol and Oleksandrivka sectors. And nearly a third of all clashes occurred in the Pokrovsk direction. According to Deep State, the Russians have made some advances. They are assaulting in small groups, using light and armored vehicles, and bombarding with artillery and drones. Our defenders are trying to repel the attackers, but the enemy pays no attention to their losses or destroyed equipment.